Grace, mercy, and peace be to you from God our Father and our Savior Jesus Christ. The year was 1747. A young man of 15, ready to embark on the adventure of his life, about to join the British Royal Navy. See, it was a prospect that had fascinated him for many years, as his older brother had joined the Navy and would come home with stories, adventure, danger on the high seas. He greatly admired his older brother, and so he wanted to follow in his footsteps, and so he decided to join the Navy. So on a particular day, he was all set to go. He was dressed out in his new Navy uniform. His bags were on the ship. Only one last thing to do, to say goodbye to his mother. Bittersweet moment, because his mother really did not want him to go. She had been widowed for 4 years. He was her oldest biological son. But yet she relinquished when she knew how much it meant to her son. And yet in that moment, just couldn't help herself as a mother. Tears began to flow, and she began to sob and began to plead with him that he change his mind, change his course. That young man, so overwhelmed by the emotion of his mother, decided not to get on the boat that day. We'd be so thankful that he didn't, because it changed the course of history for the better for us. That man would grow up to be George Washington. If you've ever heard that story. But here it was that he listened to the voice of his mother, and because he listened to the voice of his mother, he changed his course, he changed his mind. And we can say as Americans, we're better off for it. It's like today we find another who hears these words, except in trying to change his course, except in his case, he does not listen. He stays the course. For us too, it means we're better off. He chose the harder road. That's, of course, what we see Jesus doing today in our gospel. As Jesus here in our gospel has these Pharisees, these leaders of the law, the teachers of the law, coming to him and saying to him kind of an unusual thing. They say to him, "Get away from here, for Herod wants to kill you." Why is that unusual? Usually the typical interaction between Pharisees and Jesus in those days was they usually weren't looking to help him. They weren't looking out for his best interests. Usually their interactions with him, they're grumbling, they're complaining about his actions. Yet here it is that they are warning him in this moment not to go to Jerusalem because Herod wants to kill him, as Herod was the one who had killed John the Baptist. To our ears it might sound like, well, this seems like a generous, a nice thing to do. Who wouldn't want to be warned of impending doom? Yet we don't believe that those Pharisees' motives were pure. But they said those things to Jesus because they wanted him to stay away from Jerusalem. Perhaps they said those things to him to perhaps scare him, that he wouldn't come around their parts anymore to continue to preach and to teach and do miracles among the people. Jesus, of course, saw through their words. So he says this to them about Herod. He says, "Go and tell that fox, behold, I cast out demons and perform cures. Today and tomorrow, on the third day, I finish my course. Nevertheless, I must go on my way today and tomorrow and the day following, for it cannot be that a prophet should perish away from Jerusalem." It's really Jesus' way of saying to them, Herod, I do not fear. Let him come out of his hole like a fox and come and see what I have been doing, because I must stay my course. And my course means facing the very thing that you're trying to tell me to stay away from. Because Jesus knew as he was revealing these words what he was about to do. He knew where he was headed. To Jerusalem. To go the way of the prophets before him, the Old Testament prophets before him, who so often were rejected by the leaders of Israel and were killed. He knew he had to stay the course that ended up at a cross. Except it wouldn't be by the hands of Herod, but he knew by those very Pharisees that would arrest him, bring him to Pilate, and sentence him to death. Lord Jesus knew the course that he had to take. It was the hard one. It's where sometimes in life, the right course is the hard one. The same could be said for us as Christians, as followers of Christ. We know as people who follow Christ, there's plenty for us to speak up about, to stand up about what's going on in our world today. But yet, are we always as bold as the church as we could be? Sometimes we aren't always as bold as the church as we could be because it's safer to take the easier road. Temptations can be great to keep our faith hidden from others, fear of what might say or think. Temptation can be great sometimes to keep our mouths shut, to avoid the argument. Temptations can be great sometimes to hold back rather than get involved or volunteer for something that's the right kind of cause. Even though Jesus told us, go, make disciples, all nations. He told us as a church, you are my witnesses to the ends of the earth. Jesus told us to speak the truth in this world, to share his love with this world. He says, this is my command, to love one another as I have loved you. Sometimes doing the right thing, the loving thing, is the hard one. Standing up, saying, there are things that are wrong in this world, God's word. Speak up about things like abortion. Speak up as a church about assisted suicide. It's taking the life that God has given, period. Speaking up. Going about Christ's work of going to those that need to hear that message. Even to the poor, the desperate in the world, to go and to share this news. To go and defend God's word in the world, that there's things that are right and the things that are not right. It's a way to live. Ways to think. And how will the world know what is against God's word and his commandments if we as the church aren't continually sharing this word? If we keep silent about our faith, how will people continue to hear about this Jesus we know is so important to our life? He's come to save us. Because we know society in general today, I think, is less and less, has less and less knowledge of today of what God's word really says. Who Jesus really is. How we're called to believe in him. I know I've shared these kind of things before, but I was reading it again about these surveys that were done. In 2014 of Americans, where of those that were surveyed, 55% believe that Jesus is God. 55% of us Americans. Less than half of millennials said that they believe. That same survey, they found that only half of those that they surveyed believed that Jesus was sinless here on this earth. Though they surveyed, just about half of millennials surveyed believe that Jesus is the way to heaven. 15% of those they surveyed said that they aren't sure whether they're going to heaven or not. That's the reality out there in our world. People we're living amongst each day. Half of them don't believe the same way that we believe. And that's why we can't afford to take things for granted today as a church. And why do we hold back? Because sometimes doing the right thing, what Jesus called us to do, can be hard. It can be scary. I know that as your pastor too. I don't always take advantage of the opportunities that the Lord gives me to speak up, share at times when I could. Where the easier road would be to do nothing, yet nothing isn't always the right course. In fact, it can be the sinful course. See, Jesus illustrates this in the parable of the Good Samaritan. Here it was, these priests and the Levite, they see this man dying on the side of the road. And they were the ones that were doing all the right things for God, right? They were making their sacrifice in the temple to God. They were praying to Him. They were giving to the church, to the temple, right? But yet, crossed over, walked right on by, did nothing. Who was the neighbor of the man? The one who stopped. The one who did something. The one who cared and loved. We're the ones that are that dying man beside the road. All of us in our sin. We all need that rescue that would come from a Savior. And we are the ones that by God's grace, thanks be to God, He's worked in us to believe that and to know it. It's where we as a people then that are called to action, to deny ourselves and take up our crosses for Jesus out in the world, to not sit on the sidelines. Why do we do it? It could be an easier road. We do it because as Christians, we're still those people who are born in sin with inclinations within our heart to take the easier road sometimes rather than the right road, than the hard road. It means that we're no better than anybody else on this world. We're all in the same boat. Sinners who need a Savior. But there is something that we have that they don't have. And that is that knowledge and belief we have been given a Savior. We have been given the one who chose the hard road for you. That's what we see again in the gospel. Jesus revealing again, I must go this way. The way of the prophets before me. I must finish my course. I must do what you are telling me to stay away from. I must finish my course on the cross. Why? Because I know what it means for you. He came to give us the forgiveness that we needed for our sins. He came to provide you the salvation that you need to have an eternity with Him. To show you how much you are loved as those sinners in this world, that show you His grace so that you can have His kingdom forevermore. He came to give us a hope that we could say without a doubt, I know where I'm going when I die. Because I believe in the one who has come to go the way of the cross to forgive me of my sins. And I believe that means I am so cleansed, I am so forgiven by my Lord, that I can be with Him in His presence in heaven. It means I can have paradise with Him because He rose from the dead. Give me victory over death itself. Jesus did it because He carried the heart of our God who longs to gather us all into His kingdom like a hen that gathers her chicks under her wings. Wants us all to be at home with Him. That means not just us, but all those out there. That's why He's given us that mission as the church. Continue to share His word, share His love in this world. Yeah, the right course isn't always the easy one. Sometimes it is the harder one. In the case of Jesus, we can be so thankful that He chose and was obedient to His Father. He walked the harder one for us. As it means in the words of 1 John 4, this is how God showed His love among us. He sent His one and only Son to the world that we might live through Him. This is love, not that we love God, but that He loved us. Sent His Son as atoning sacrifice for our sins. And that is His word for us. Take out in this world our God's love for us in Christ. Amen. May the peace of Christ transcend understanding, guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus our Lord.